This presentation is titled Facilitating Fresh Approaches to Data Resources with Figshare and has been created by the library's Research Data Management and Digital Development teams. It will talk about several pieces of development work for our Figshare for Institutions research data repository that have taken place in the last year. The development of Figshare is supported by colleagues in the library in collaboration with teams across professional services, our research community, and as part of the Research Lifecycle Programme. When Manchester researchers deposit their research data in our Figshare, or indeed any external repository, we want to develop workflows that harvest the associated metadata. This helps us to populate researchers' public profiles, increase the visibility of their research to as wide an audience as possible, and maintain a record of our institution's scholarly outputs. To make that process efficient and simple, we pulled together expertise from 3 teams across the library and central research services who manage all aspects of Pure. The library manages and resources the processing of the metadata that's harvested from data repositories and supports our researchers. In 2018, we developed our Research Data Gateway service. This allows researchers to copy and paste the data DOI into an online form, which then automatically displays the associated metadata so that they can confirm the details and with a single mouse click submit the record to the library for processing in Pure. We also ran a one-off project which harvested over 6,000 metadata records from external repositories via the Scholix initiative. When our Figshare was launched, we decided to investigate a subscription to Elsevier's Data Monitor to connect Figshare with Pure, as this provides a native integration. We felt it was more resource effective since our in-house harvesting of Scholix would otherwise require ongoing resource and effort from our digital development team. Our Data Monitor integration is now live, so whenever data is deposited in Figshare, Data Monitor automatically harvests the metadata and presents a candidate record to Pure, which is then validated by the library's metadata team. In addition, within Pure, the Data Monitor import source allows researchers to easily search for specific data deposits and external repositories and submit the associated metadata to the library for validation. In terms of visibility, Manchester data is publicly visible and findable via Figshare, which is indexed by multiple external search and discovery services, research profiles via our public Research Explorer portal for Pure, which has similar external indexing, and more recently our library search portal, which will be touched on in a moment. In the future, we aim to increase efficiency through simple, standardized and automated processes. This is particularly important for an institution of our scale with over 6,000 researchers. So far, we've integrated over 600 data records from Figshare into Pure, which now contains just short of 7,000 data records. Our next step will be to plan how we approach and prioritize the processing of over 14,000 Manchester data items that Data Monitor has identified. We'll also want to consider how comprehensive Data Monitor's indexing might be and how we might find and harvest any additional Manchester items from external repositories. Building on this development strand to make datasets more easily searchable and discoverable, colleagues in digital services and library research services have completed a piece of work to connect our Figshare with Primo. This enables harvesting of records from Figshare into library search, enhancing the discoverability and accessibility of these resources for our users. An automated process enables a weekly import of Figshare records and metadata into library search, ensuring our discovery platform stays up to date with the latest details. Another focus area for the development of Figshare over the last year has been in creating subgroups of the main Figshare site. And in 2022, the Productivity Institute launched their Productivity Lab, part of the AMBS Productivity Institute. The lab is a data science centre of excellence, and they wanted to set up a Figshare profile to support the activities of the Institute and to formally store data and documents linked to the project. So they approached our RDM team, and after discussion it was clear that a Figshare subgroup would be a good option to facilitate this. From an administrative point of view, setting up the subgroup in Figshare was straightforward, and communication with our academic colleagues ensured that details within the metadata fields and how things are displayed within Figshare were addressed. Our normal publication process for Figshare involves a mediated step, whereby our team review the metadata for any items submitted for publication, and they publish items on behalf of all our researchers. For the subgroup, however, we gave the 2 researchers we've been working with reviewer permissions, so that they can upload, self-review and publish the outputs for their institutes, without our team in the library having to do any reviews or additional admin. Having a public subgroup in Figshare creates a branded profile for their outputs, which helps with communication, advocacy and engagement with their data. As a test case for setting up our first subgroup within our institutional Figshare, in collaboration with researchers, this went really well, and we now feel able to offer this to other research institutes at Manchester whenever it's needed. And finally, something else we've been working on is research into the development of a teaching and learning data resource repository at the University of Manchester. Dr. Miriam Firth is a Strategic Fellow of the Institute of Teaching and Learning at Manchester, and the purpose of Miriam's role is to develop the use of Pure profiles for teaching and scholarship academics. Laura Turner from the Pure team, Miriam, and the RDM team coordinator Claire Liggins have been discussing and researching the options for teaching and learning staff's use of Figshare in order to ensure data from TNL research is visible on academic profiles as this is pulled through from Pure. This project is still being developed. We hope to share more on this topic in a future presentation. So, thank you for listening, and if you'd like to talk about any of the topics covered, please just get in touch.